Good evening everyone and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting for November the 18th, 2025. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today, and we welcome other First Nations people to our meeting. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe, and especially those in Ukraine and the Middle East. We seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. Now you can see that the agenda is a long one tonight. We've got a lot to get through, so make your questions clear and succinct. Wait until I call you to speak according to the cue on my screen. Turn off your microphone when you finish speaking. Refrain from talking or making comments whilst a council member or staff member is answering questions or addressing the chamber, and be respectful of visitors and each other. Thank you to everyone for all of your questions, for reading all of your information provided, because this will help us navigate the agenda as efficiently and effectively as possible. And the absences tonight, we have apologies from Councillor Zing and Councillor Hubel. I'll just remind you about declarations of interest, that they need to come up at the point of time at the item that we are debating. Confirmation of minutes, I seek a mover. Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We have no public question time questions, but we do, and nor do we have any presentations, but we do have one deputation from Mr Watson and Mr Cooper from Kensington Gardens Bowling and Tennis Club, and I'll ask them to come forward to the table in the front here. Thank you. And you are familiar with the 5 minutes and a warning bell at 4, and just state your names and your suburb you come from before you start. Thank you.
I beg your pardon. Yep. Good evening, Mayor Monceau and councillors. I'm Ken Watson, resident of the Beaumont Ward and Chair of the Board of Management of the Kensington Gardens Bowling and Tennis Club. With me is Ian Cooper, a resident of the Burnside Ward and Finance Director of the club. I thank you for the opportunity to speak, to express some concerns we still have about the proposed revised policy on leasing and licensing of community facilities. We support transparency and responsible asset management. This policy, as drafted, does not achieve that. Instead, it creates new costs, removes autonomy, and, and reduces the financial sustainability of clubs. Council describes this as a cost recovery rent, but the mechanism, as far as we see it, is actually a compulsory sinking fund contribution. Payments from clubs aren't being used to recover operational costs or maintenance costs. They're being diverted into council-controlled sinking funds. It's forced saving under council control. The proposed rent is calculated solely on the area of land and buildings a club occupies. Excuse me. There is no link to the real needs of the facility, nor to depreciation, asset age, condition, renewal schedules, or usage patterns. Council has provided no modelling or analysis showing how these charges relate to actual future costs. To our mind, this contradicts the claim that the framework is evidence-based. A formula based purely on land and building areas cannot produce equitable or realistic outcomes. Under this proposed policy, clubs lose control over their own long-term planning. Under the current system, our club manages its own sinking fund, investing annually into a conservative stock market fund on the advice of a share broker, with funds being made available for significant future long-term facility plans. We prioritise the things needed to keep facilities modern, safe and attractive to members. Under the proposal, our club will lose some of that ability as council would control how and when our own sinking fund money is spent. that removes autonomy, disrupts planning and weakens responsible governance at club level.
Good evening, everyone. As Ken said, the proposal requires compulsory contributions into a council-run sinking fund. This will result in significant long-term financial disadvantage to our club. This is one of the most important issues. Our club's sinking fund is invested in a diversified share portfolio which returns about 8% per year. Council, as we understand it, by contrast, will hold funds in an account yielding much lower interest, if any. To highlight the impact, if our club contributes $13,900, which is, I think, the latest contribution amount, if it goes into a share fund returning 8% per annum, the fund grows to about $201,000 after 10 years. If it goes into a council sinking fund earning, say, 0.5%, it grows to $143,000. That's a loss or a shortfall of about $58,000 over 10 years. It's money that otherwise pays for resurfacing greens, court maintenance, club room upgrades, etc. So it's a lose-lose situation. Money is not available to spend on council facilities for the benefit of both the club and, of course, council itself, which effectively owns the facility. Beyond the numbers, council has provided no detail at all on how these funds will be invested, what returns will be achieved, or what governance framework will apply. Clubs are being asked to hand over large sums of money with no transparency. On the coaching issue, the policy requires court hire fees from coaching to be paid into the council-controlled sinking fund to contribute to ongoing maintenance. Now, at Kensington we have grass courts which cost $75,000 per annum to maintain. In contrast to hard courts where there's a low annual maintenance fee but a big spend at the end of the life of the courts. So any court hire fees received by our club are used to offset this ongoing cost. So far from ensuring that fees received are directed to ongoing maintenance, the policy proposed will have the exact opposite effect in that rent received will be quarantined into a long-term sinking fund. Council has claimed that policy is collaborative, equitable and designed to support community outcomes. Unfortunately, the details do not reflect these claims. Clubs are not involved in designing the rent formula. Feedback in many areas is not being meaningfully incorporated, and the area-based formula produces inequitable and arbitrary charges. Lower investment returns and increased administrative burden will reduce, not improve, community participation. In summary, this policy duplicates what our club already does. We put money aside for future large capital and maintenance outlays, and we have done for the last 100 years. Such duplication removes financial autonomy, reduces investment returns, and creates greater uncertainty without improving community outcomes. If the council sees a need to have some sort of sinking fund for clubs which do not put money in reserve, then the medium for doing this is through leasing agreements. The current standard lease agreement covers this option.
Just finish that sentence, please.
The operation of these funds could be subject to annual audit or review by council. At the very least, clubs could be given the option of having their own sinking funds. Thank you.
Now, is there anyone who wishes to ask a question? Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you both for attending this evening. I have a couple of questions. Firstly, do you think it's fair that you are the only club in Burnside Council to have operated a retail tennis shop out of council property for many, many years and not paid any money to council for the privilege?
If I can respond to that.
Firstly, does that relate to what we're talking about?
Yes, it does.
The reality at the moment is that has been discussed with council officials. We would have to say we don't agree with the council's position, but we accept that the council is concerned that the facility we've got has the appearance of a shop, and we're making, in the process of making changes that we've agreed upon, that council is happy with.
Secondly, just one more. Yeah. We know that many clubs have fantastic fundraising opportunities in place, including Kensey Gardens, Marriotteville Lawn Bowls and Beaumont Bowling Clubs, to name a few. Can you tell us what Kensington Gardens Lawn Tennis Club do to actually fundraise and generate revenue, please?
Well, there's no such entity as Kensington Gardens Lawn Tennis Club. It's Kensington Gardens Bowling Tennis Club. It's the entity.
But do you actually, the Lawn Tennis Club, do any fundraising yourself?
There isn't a lawn tennis club. Yes, we do fundraising.
But I'm assuming it's in conjunction as your one club.
That's right,
Yep.
yes. For example, we have joint fundraising efforts like quiz nights. And similarly, a lot of the fundraising is joint. There are Friday night dinners at which both tennis players and bowls people attend.
Thank you. I think
Thank
that
you.
answers the question. Now, Councillor Jennings.
Thank you very much for coming in. I love sports and I'm the current secretary of the South Australian Roadrunners Club. Financials, it's a nightmare and I bet it's scary having it taken out of your control. Who is your auditor for your yearly reviews? Thank you.
It's a second-tier accounting firm called Accrue.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. Can you give me an idea of your membership fees for your... I've got no idea what the fees are, but I'd just like to have an indication of what your members... and whether they're different between the tennis and the bowling clubs.
Well, yes, they are different between the two sections. A pennant playing bowler pays, I think it's $215 per annum. A full tennis member pays how much a year?
$450 if they're a weekend pennant player, less if they play midweek.
So that's a year?
Yes.
Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming in. Can you just improve our knowledge and just advise us how many young pupils that you have for tennis coaching and those who play tennis with the club?
By young, I'm presuming you mean sort of like...
Coaching? Coaching players?
I don't know the exact numbers. I know that...
Approximate?
Well, there are quarterly coaching schools held,
Yep.
which mainly for kids,
Yes.
aged between probably 6 and 16,
Yes.
and we get probably average of 100 people attend those. They go for they're held during the school holidays.
Yes. And
And-
there are regular coaching sessions on Sunday AM, I think?
Sunday mornings.
That's right.
Yes.
There would be, this is very much off the top of my head, 15 to 20 people, children, on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And then there are, the ones during the week are not young people, they tend to be older people.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Right, look, I'm going to say thank you very much for coming in, and assuming you're going to stay for the debate. Otherwise, of course, you can go home and watch it online, on live stream. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now we'll move to no petition, so we'll move through the reports. I'll seek a mover or a seconder or someone who wishes to withdraw. So 11.1 is the annual report. Councillor Harvey, are you withdrawing it or
Yes,
moving it?
thank you.
11.2, report on financial results. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, a seconder, Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried. First budget review, 11.3. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, seconded by Councillor Hallett. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The finance end of month report. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, no, Councillor Turnbull, and seconded by Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Bylaw amendments, 11.5. Is there anyone willing to move that? Councillor Cornish, moving, seconded by... I need a seconder, Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The leasing and licensing community facilities policy, Councillor Turnbull. Love Where You Live campaign, revised approach to city master plan, Councillor Dawes. 11.8, Ombudsman investigation, Councillor Harvey. Community land revocation, Councillor Davey. Heritage policy review, a seeker mover, Councillor Dawes, seconded by Councillor Hallett. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Policy update on fraud and corruption policy, 11.11, I seek a mover. Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Records management policy review, I seek a mover. Councillor Hallett, seconded Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting, 11.13. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish. Seconder, Councillor Hallett. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Mayor's activity report. Councillor Turnbull moving. Or are you moving it or withdrawing it?
Withdrawing.
Sorry, withdrawing it. Chief Executive Officer's report, 11.15. Councillor Jones, you're moving it? Sorry, withdrawing it, yeah. All right. Now we'll move back then to 11.1 on page 29. Councillor Harvey, when you're ready.
Oh, yes, I have a question, please, for administration.
No, you need to move the motion first.
I'll
move the recommendation first.
I'll move the motion.
Okay.
Thank you. And I have a question for administration, please.
It does have to be read out, I believe. Is that right?
Do I have to
Yeah,
read?
it doesn't need, no, it's okay. You can go ahead with your question.
I refer to page 87, where we have council meeting attendance rate. And my question is, we have in this listing a quarter of councillors not attending council meetings. And I'm wondering, what are the requirements for councillors to attend council meetings and the consequences for non-attendance, please?
Through the Mayor, the requirement is that 1 in every 3 council meetings must be attended, otherwise you risk your seat as a council member.
And, sorry, what were the repercussions?
The repercussions, if you do miss 3 in a row, is that you can be removed from your seat as a council member.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Cornish.
Second the motion and reserve my right. Thank
All
you.
right. Councillor Hallett.
I've just got a question, please, in regard to page numbering. And in the table of contents, which is on page 37, it looks like the report is only 100, or not the report, but the plan is only 139 pages long, but it's actually much longer than that. So I'm wondering why it says it's only 130 when it's a really big, substantial report. And I've just got to, on top of that is, how do the community access it? Will they access this report electronically, via the internet? We're not going to print it off or anything like that. Okay, thank you.
Through the Mayor, for the first part of your question, there's substantial documentation in the subsidiary section, and so the page numbering and the table of contents denotes the beginning of that section. So the subsidiary section starts at 139, but then it goes on for a very long time. So that's why it's like that. To answer the second part of your question, the annual report will be available in a variety of formats, but the most often accessed one is on our website, and that will be published on there.
You have to legally provide it to someone to.
Through the Mayor, if we have a request of someone who'd like a hard copy, then we can accommodate that.
Next is Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. Firstly, thank you to the staff for putting together, it's a huge amount of work, and I think it's come together pretty well, easy to read and work our way through. I just have a question on page 109. There's two, and of course this has been prepared for months, so there were two section 270 reviews undertaken, which would have been underway while this was being prepared, and I'm a bit confused about whether they're completed. That one of them's tree planting along Glenburn Road, in terms of someone objecting to having trees in front of their house, and restrictions of a resident in their contact with council. Could I just ask what the progress is to date and whether they've been resolved?
Through the Mayor, although they were lodged in that previous financial year and part of this report, they are actually still ongoing. So we're still assessing the tree removals and there's still some restrictions in place.
Thank you. And one other question, if I may. Do we print a hard copy and have this accessible in our library so that our residents might have a look at it there?
Through the Mayor, the answer to that is yes.
Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor. Just before I start, can I ask everybody to speak up tonight because my ears are blocked from a nergy I've had and the doctor couldn't do anything for me today. So thank you. My question's about the financial report. Some of us find reading and understanding the financial statements difficult, especially with such small print. So could you summarise in a nutshell, please, how is Burnside Council faring with regards to maintaining services and reducing debt?
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. Apologies about the font and the format. It is mandated by the Minister as to how we present these financial statements. But as you would be aware, we have been going through a number of years of budget repair. This is the second year of that. The numbers, as are displayed in the second report, which has already been adopted by Council, we've got a reconciliation around what the Audit Committee referred to as the underlying surplus. We've received about $1 million worth of our 25-26 grants early, and so the finances look like we've achieved a small surplus of $300,000. In actual fact, when you take out that grant, the finances are about a $1 million deficit, which is what Council's budget was expecting. That is why we've continued on this budget repair process and still required to have that 6.95% rate increase this year. But we're on track to achieve the budget repair process and be back in surplus this year and paying down debt coming in the next budget period.
Thank you.
No problems.
May I ask another one? It would serve us all well if the subsidiaries could come to Council to present the reports and answer any questions. We've had East Waste come to Council, but in my 7 years, I've never seen or heard from EHA, Highbury Land Hill Authority, Brown Hill and Keswick Stormwater Board, and it's a long time since Era Water presented either. Could they become part of the annual report as an actual presentation by actual people?
Through the Mayor, that is what we are trying to achieve. My understanding is that we have had Brown Hill, Keswick Creek Stormwater Authority before my time, Councillor Turnbull, but I understand they have been here. We have had East Waste. We were going to have Burnside Hospital, but we are doing that in a separate information session with council members. So completely understand the point around further communication and transparency, which we're definitely working on. So I think I will be getting I sit on the Landfill Authority, Highbury Landfill Authority, and we'll be asking the General Manager to come to the Council when the new General Manager is appointed, which is later this month.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd first like to thank the staff for producing an excellent document. The colour format that you have used is non-offensive and fabulous. Page 49, where you have got all the data, it is fabulous for people who like putting things like this into spreadsheets and playing around with them. Well done. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish, do you wish to speak? No. Right, then Councillor Harvey, I'm coming back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just also like to reiterate and acknowledge the enormous effort and work that has gone into this annual report from administration, so thank you very much for that. And I will put it to the vote. Thank you.
Right, those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Now we move to 11.6, which is Councillor Turnbull. Sorry, page 347.
Thank you. I would like to move an alternate motion, and it'll come up in a moment. I'll start reading it. I would like to read it because it's easier for people to understand it if they actually hear it. So I may take a bit more than my time. My alternate motion is that Council adopts the leasing and licensing community policy as provided in attachment 4 to report number 225-543, which incorporates key changes including a cost recovery rent model, excluding specific community organisations and service clubs such as Scouts, Girl Guides, Meals on Wheels, Country Fire Service, Lions, Rotary, Chapel Street Community Garden, Eastwood Community Centre and Burnside Kinder Gym. And that community key performance indicators, guidelines for private coaching and signage, and a defined process for requesting upgrades to community facilities. Number 2, sets a commencing cost recovery rent amount for the community leasing portfolio of $91,100 plus GST per annum to be increased annually by CPI. Number 3, directs rent payments received from community tenants to a dedicated sinking fund managed by Council to be reinvested in the relevant facility, supporting future renewal or upgrade works that benefit both tenant club and the broader community. Number 4, reinvests any interest earned on rent payments into the dedicated sinking fund. Undertakes follow-up engagements with community tenants and implements a comprehensive communication and education rollout in 2026 to support their understanding of the new policy, including updated rights and responsibilities, noting that these changes will be phased in progressively as leases are renewed, rather than taking immediate effect. Notes that community tenants may apply to Council for support, including exemption from certain policy requirements, with requests to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. And number 7, rescinds the Council contribution to community facilities policy. So the main thing about that one is taken out of excluding specific community organisations and service clubs. But firstly, I would like to acknowledge the huge amount of time, work and effort that's been put into this policy by James Brennan and his team. It's been exhausting for them. 2 years. The investigation into bringing Burnside Council into the modern era with regard to leasing and licensing of community facilities began in August 2023. Further consultation was conducted in August 2025 with all 3 community lessees and 11 peak bodies corresponded with and given opportunities to meet with staff. This alternate motion, as you've noted, removes specific community organisations and service clubs from the list and specifically charges sporting clubs for the use of facilities. Having researched other local councils, this shows that by far the majority of metropolitan councils charge sporting clubs for the use of their facilities. These models include a range of charges. Some councils operate on a co-contribution model, such as is proposed here, while some operate on a full cost recovery model. It seems that most councils operate a model of co-contribution by clubs with various formula applying. The current Burnside model of rent-free access, or just $1 a year known as peppercorn rent, of council-owned and maintained facilities for local clubs is a long outdated model and one that is no longer sustainable. We are currently the outlier here. We cannot afford to continue it. So this motion does not propose a full cost recovery model, far from it. That would be an extreme change from the current situation, but it does seek a reasonable and affordable change to the current practice of zero contribution, and this is fair and reasonable from a ratepayer perspective. Councils too face increasing costs: staff wages, water, maintenance of public spaces, equipment, tree planting, rubbish removal, to name some. These services are provided by council and paid for by the Burnside ratepayers. It's an equity issue also. Can I please ask for a little bit extra time? Because can I get an indication, please? Oh, thank you very much. It's an equity issue. I also note that some sporting clubs using Burnside facilities have 50% or less of Burnside residents and ratepayers within their membership. So everybody needs to pay something towards the cost of maintaining the sports fields. And as we're aware, Burnside Council is in its second year of budget recovery. Council has a large debt which must be managed carefully. This management has already resulted in the delay of many approved community projects for all the Burnside residents. It is particularly noted that licence fees that are co-contributed are proposed to be quarantined in a council sinking fund, so that in time will be returned to the contributing clubs through the upgrade and maintenance of these facilities. The paid fees would in time be returned to the clubs in the future in this way. This move provides clubs with long-term security that when in the future major maintenance or upgrading issues arise, there'd be a funding pool to support this. I would further note 2 points. The motion provides for a comprehensive communication and education program by council for all tenant sporting clubs. The provision of affected tenants to negotiate their lease conditions with council in the event of a hardship. So, as already noted, Burnside is currently an outlier in not seeking any co-contributions from clubs that use our council-owned and maintained resources. We must move with the times. This change is well overdue. The proposal is very fair and a reasonable one and sits well within the spectrum of what similar metropolitan councils are charging. I seek your support for this motion. Thank you.
Before I seek a seconder, I do have to declare a conflict of interest. It is a general conflict of interest. I am the patron of the Eastern Amateur Pistol Club, and I haven't had any direct communication with them except via the letters they've sent, which I have then forwarded directly to staff. And I'll be staying in the meeting for the discussion.
Sorry, that was that last bit?
I will stay in the meeting for discussion and voting if I have to vote.
Okay.
Now, Councillor Dawes, are you seconding this motion?
I will second. I reserve my right, but can I ask a question now?
Yes.
It's a question to administration. I'm just looking for administration just to give us, the council, an understanding of the tenor of the discussions you've had, both probably more face-to-face over the last 6 months, because I think 6 months ago we decided to seek more consultation.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. Since Council resolved to undertake consultation with clubs prior to making a final determination on the policy, we've undertaken a very detailed engagement with each of the clubs. Of the clubs that wanted to meet face-to-face, often we would find ourselves sitting in front of committee members who were picking up the narrative very quickly, but obviously there were large gaps in their understanding of where council had come from and why it was in this position. We did provide a lot of information up front, but often is the case when you provide such a large amount of information to these clubs, it takes a while for that to be digested. So I think it was a good opportunity to speak to the committee members to explain their position. My findings from attending each of those meetings was that the conversation was generally constructive and positive. Obviously there were concerns that were raised along the way, and we reiterated through each of those discussions that feedback provided would be considered by council, and we'd be providing it in full, which has been done as part of this report. We've taken on board that feedback and made some refinements of the policy to try and address some of those concerns, and we think that we've struck a reasonable balance. Obviously there will still be some concerns that are raised, including some that we heard tonight. Obviously change is never comfortable for organisations that have been in place for a long time, but I think over and above, Council's gone through a very robust policy development process, and we're comfortable with where we've landed, and I hope that the information is helpful for members.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I too wish to declare a general conflict of interest due to my participation as part of the Kensington Gardens Marrittville Bowls Club awards process and wish to participate in the debate and vote. I too want to thank Councillor Turnbull for this motion and the hours of work that have been dedicated to it. Also to thank administration, in particular James Brennan and his team, who have met with clubs, answered questions, adapted the policy to clubs' needs and concerns, including reducing the initial rent costs to clubs. An enormous workload which has been done with a balance of professionalism and consideration. Charging rent for community clubs is not just about balancing budgets. It's about reinvesting back to that club in a sinking fund, earning interest with investing in the future back to the club. Charging rent can encourage clubs to become more self-sufficient and innovative in their operations. We have many clubs, as already discussed, who have already very successfully raised additional revenue for their clubs through fundraising, etc., and do it extremely well, whilst attracting more members, which is the key, obviously, to growing their club. This model encourages sustainability and fosters a sense of ownership, making the clubs more accountable to their members and the wider community. Council has listened and introduced a flexible, fair, tiered rent system that has taken into account the club's financial situations and its contribution to the local community. We are ensuring our community clubs remain vibrant and sustainable in the long term. By charging rent, we not only preserve these spaces for future generations, but empower the club to grow, thrive and continue serving their communities with excellence. Charging rent is a balanced approach to ensure the sustainability of vital local services. It ensures that we can continue to offer spaces and services that bind our communities together. Making tough decisions is important for councillors. It builds trust and transparency and public confidence. Council must balance long-term community wellbeing, which has been provided fully in this report. Let's move forward and recognise the time, effort and consideration put forward in this policy. I hope you will support Council's hard work and Councillor Turnbull's hard work on this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Just a question, if I may. The new motion that we've just seen tonight removes quite a number of service clubs from potentially the policy applying. And there's a new number in terms of the value. I was just wondering, has anyone in the room done the calculations to work out whether or not that is exactly the right amount? I also note that we've only got listed Lions clubs, yet I don't know if that applies to both the Lions clubs in the list or just one of them as well. So I just wondered if someone could answer that question about the amount of money and equaling the amount of clubs now being removed or cherry-picked off the list.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. Yes, the service clubs that are being removed from the list are total 10 clubs. That includes both Lions clubs and there's 2 Girl Guides clubs as well. In terms of the reduction of that amount, what we've done is we've calculated what the indicative commencing rent would be for those 10 organisations and removed that from that previous figure that's currently, that was previously as part of the officer's recommendation. So that leaves us with the balance being $91,900 for the remainder of the organisations that will be captured by the cost recovery rent model.
Councillor.
Yeah, sure thing. So, yeah, the actual amount, which I think is currently shown on screen, $91,100. So that's for the 23 remaining organisations.
What the amount that we wouldn't get if we exclude the community?
My apologies. Yes, the amount that's being reduced from the amount that's listed in the officer's recommendation is $22,400, and that's for those 10 clubs that have been listed.
I apologise, Councillor Wilkins, you were next, but I thought it was
okay.
necessary for that clarification
okay.
for everyone. Right, now Councillor Wilkins, your turn.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm happy to support Councillor Turnbull's motion, simply because the organisations that have been excluded are community organisations, and in the same time I must declare an interest in the Eastwood Community Centre as being a long-time member of that centre from my early days of joining council. Plus I'm a long-time member of Rotary Club of Adelaide, and I help out sometimes at the Rotary Club of Burnside when they do barbecues.
Sorry, Councillor Hooker, so you're declaring a
I'm declaring a general conflict of interest, but I am actually staying and speaking up for community and service clubs who do an enormous amount of work in our community and in the wider Adelaide community as well. So I think it's important that we acknowledge their contributions to the community and do not operate, take money from them in the cost recovery model. But I'm also concerned about sporting clubs for the elderly and sporting clubs for the young, because we need to encourage continued participation across all ages in sporting clubs. So obviously once we instigate this policy, there will be some ongoing, shall I say, management and review over time. So on that basis, I'm happy to support this, because I think it's important. We cannot exclude community organisations nor service clubs. They are the basis upon which this community operates. So for that reason, I support this motion of Councillor Turnbull's. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. Question for the administration through you, the Mayor. I'm hearing a bit about the criteria now, because there's a bit of policy on the run here tonight. I wasn't aware this was going to happen. We're excluding clubs, and I want to know, what is the criteria for removing these particular clubs? Because I've just heard that they are community clubs, but when we had the deputations from the likes of Toorak Gardens Bowling Club, they see themselves as very much a community club, etc., etc. So what's the criteria as far as the administration is concerned about these particular clubs that have been excluded tonight? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, when the administration was setting this policy position, we set this policy in accordance with council resolution that asked us to have a holistic policy position for all community groups that leased a facility from council. So that's how we've approached this. The specific question that you're asking there would probably be better answered by the mover of the alternate motion in the summing up. However, the administration take on this and the assistance that we provided Councillor Turnbull when she was preparing this alternate motion was a very key distinction between those lessees who are defined sporting groups versus all the other lessees who are wider community/service clubs. So I do agree, all of our facilities are leased by community groups, but the distinct difference here is sporting versus different type of community group.
Councillor Hallett.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a question along similar lines, and that is, do we need, as a council, to be aware of the implications of removing the identified community organisations? And by that I'm thinking, we covered financial, but meeting our strategic objectives. Are there any flow-on impacts in regard to other organisations, community organisations? And the second part of that question is, how do other councils manage community organisations as opposed to sporting organisations? Do they have to pay rent?
Through the Mayor, I'll start answering that question and James might jump in to assist at a certain point. Bronwyn, can you scroll down to part 6 of the recommendation that's there? So the only difference within this policy position is the rent allocation as part of the policy position for the different types of community groups. The entire policy position, other than that section, is appropriate and applicable for all lessee facilities and licensed facilities across the organisation. So the only intricacies here is the difference between how much rent they will pay. With respect to other community groups that may also seek an exemption from the policy requirement, what Council is doing tonight is it's adopting a holistic policy position that allows the administration to go and manage the policy of the leases on Council's behalf under the delegated approval. If any club, including the club that was here speaking to you earlier on this evening, wishes to be exempt from a certain policy requirement, that matter will be considered at that appropriate time, and that will be brought back to Council for consideration. The second part to your question, I think we provided a lot of that information through the development of this policy review over the last couple of years now. There is no one set policy or standard in terms of how much different councils charge their community groups and sporting groups. Some pay more than a cost recovery, some pay a little bit more of a commercial type of agreement or based on the size of the facility. Some still pay peppercorn, and some are a hybrid of all of the above.
So are you asking a subsequent question? Okay.
So community organisations do have to pay rent. They're not excluded from it.
In some councils, that is true. In some councils, it's still peppercorn. So it depends on the policy position of the particular council.
Through the Mayor, can I please add to that also? Councillor Hallett, this is about leasing arrangements, exclusive lease arrangements. Other community organisation in other council areas may have a licence and they might do just hiring. So there's a sort of a spectrum of different arrangements, so that they would still be paying something, but it wouldn't be for an exclusive lease. It may be for a licence, which gives them some exclusiveness, but not for the entire thing. Might be a shared arrangement, and hiring on a weekly or a monthly basis would also be in a shared arrangement.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. My question relates to when the measures will take effect. I understand this will be from when contracts and leases become available. So I'm just wondering what sort of time frame we're looking at. Are we looking at the next financial year? Is this going to be over a couple of financial years or even longer? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. In terms of our portfolio, these lease agreements have been struck at different times, so we do have some that will be renewed early in the new calendar year, but we have some longer range leases that will be in place for a good couple of decades from here. So they're legally binding agreements. We are unable to retrofit these kind of changes in there because they've got their rights and council has its obligations and vice versa. So over time, these provisions will be embedded into the agreements as they come up for renewal. Most of them are within 3 years or so, but there are some on the longer range.
Councillor Corn.
Thank you, Worship. Everyone around the chamber pretty much knows where I stand on this topic. I've quite clearly said over the last 2 years that this is a no, no, no for me. I've never seen a problem with what we've currently got. And I've got to say, I even think this motion takes it worse. It makes a dog's breakfast of it. The policy itself is lease and licensing of community facilities, and we've gone and removed almost a third to a half of the facilities off the list. There is a sports group there in that list that we're removing. Burnside Kinder Gym is under Gymnastics South Australia. It's a program that they run. So what stops a council next term, cherry picking, this is my favourite cut, my kids go there or my grandkids go there, I'm going to actually remove them from the lease and list. Where's the equity across the entire city of Burnside for all community users when this council and this chamber gets to cherry pick which club's on and off the list to pay the fees? It makes it even worse. You either have a policy that actually applies to everyone, or, like, I don't understand this complete and utter change of where we're going here. I won't vote for it. I won't vote for the officer's recommendation if that gets up. But I just think this just makes an absolute and utter mockery of what a policy to be equitable across all of the community facilities that we've got. And that was the purpose of bringing it here when we're cherry picking and taking groups off it. I think it's a terrible idea, and I will not be voting for it.
Councillor Jen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Cornish, for being so more eloquent than I can be. I'm struggling to find support for this, because when you've got a sporting group, you have got community, and community brings people together outside of work and outside of family circles and friendship circles. And as a council, we should be supporting more community connection. And charred peppercorn rates are awesome. I wish at the South Australian Roadrunners Club we had a peppercorn rate, but unfortunately we have to deal with councils and rents and blah, 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 blah. Everything's getting really expensive, and perhaps some of the onus needs to go back onto the clubs, but currently as this cherry-picked document sits, I will not support it. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. I was going to ask a question, but I'll just cut to the chase. Thank you for everyone's questions. No, I won't support this either. I agree with Councillor Cornish, I agree with Councillor Jennings. It's nice, I'm speaking now, it's nice that we as an administration, a council body, can help clubs improve their assets. I like the asset management model, I have to say. I like that the administration can be there to administer and do a forecast sinking fund and identify where safety things need to be fixed and where we have to put money aside for this and this around the room, and help small clubs. Maybe they're in a crappy Girl Guides hall, I don't know. Maybe the Scouts hall needs a new fire door, I don't know. All those questions would arise from an administration getting involved in forecasting a sinking fund, helping the clubs. However, some clubs have that capability, as we heard tonight from Kensington. So I have to say, it was a nice idea. I think Councillor Turnbull, thank you. You raised this a couple of years ago, the idea of a cost recovery model. However, we could see after all the work and all the questions tonight, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and it's just a bit too premature to suddenly make a decision tonight. We've got new information again about eliminating certain clubs. Putting everything in perspective. We're charging all these clubs a variety of amount of money, but then we've got leases and licence arrangements with other organisations like the Burnside War Memorial Hospital. And it's not part of this, but they pay $434 a week for all that land. And now they've got a big cancer centre happening. So you see, if we look at the big picture, this isn't right anyway. We tried this 2 years ago before we knew about the Burnside War Memorial Hospital becoming $1 billion exercise with the cancer clinics. And here we are trying to sort of squeeze a couple of dollars out here and there and kind of coming up with some sort of policy on the run tonight. So I cannot support any of this. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I've got a question, please, Mayor. If I recall the open space plan we have, am I right in thinking that there is an excess in demand for community facilities and space for sporting groups than we have supply?
Through the Mayor, that is correct. There are a certain number of different type of community uses or sporting groups that are looking for facilities within the eastern region, and that's one of the actions that has been identified through the draft open space plan at this stage.
Can I ask a supplementary then?
Yes, of course.
So the question is then, how do we ration between groups that want access to facilities and our limited supply of those facilities?
Through the Mayor, that's a little bit bigger than I can answer on a policy, leasing policy this evening. However, the open space plan will consider actions that will provide council with that information to look at the options to try and resolve that. Some of the commentary within the report will be looking at those lessees or licence holders within our community facilities to see how we can support them further as well. And that might also include shared use. It might also include amalgamation with other clubs, freeing up some of those spaces to have multi-use arrangements rather than single-purpose, single-use. So that's part of our approach as well, to try and address that.
Councillor Cornish, you've got another question.
I do have a question, thank you, Worship. Just in terms of the way this motion is written, that the rent is being collected and it goes into the sinking fund, is it going to benefit only those that put the rent in, or is it going to benefit all the other clubs that are not paying rent? Because I can see it says, and it will benefit both the tenant club and the broader community. How do you interpret that?
Through the Mayor, I would say that it's, so the tenant club who actually have exclusive use of that, but also if, for example, a club has community days or access to that club, then the community would be getting a benefit as well.
I will be going back now to Councillor Turnbull, who was the mover. Oh, sorry, you do want to speak, Councillor Dawes? Because you hadn't put your name on there and I had a clear screen. Now speak, please.
Thank you. I did second it and I said I reserve my right. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank 3 people, and 2 always get forgotten, and that was obviously James, but Paul and Heather in the back row there. I know you've done a lot of work as part of James's team. I'm just going to go through some of the points. I do recognise what Councillor Cornish has said. However, I do disagree with him, which I can do. But I want to first of all go to point number 6, and if Bronnie can just raise it again. And this is a very important part of the motion, where point 6 says very clearly that if you want to seek an exemption, then you need to come back to the administration. We made that point 6 months ago, very, very strongly, and it's still there in the current motion. I want to make that point. The other point, and I think that Councillor Davey did highlight it, is that this only comes into effect when the lease is due. So the private coaching guidelines that we are worried about don't come in straight away. So hopefully, if someone is 2 years away from signing a new lease, that the private coaching will be resolved prior to that time. Another very important point. The final point I want to make is on page 362, which lists all of the clubs that are going to be involved in this particular policy. Of course, we have removed, through Councillor Turnbull's motion, the service clubs. But if you look at that, there are at least 5 or 6 clubs, sporting clubs, that are less than 50% Burnside residents, and some are even way below that. So I'm saying we're spending money on these clubs over time, and yet the Burnside residents haven't been looked after. There are some issues with service clubs, and the reason why we removed them, and I'll just give you one example. The Eastwood Community Centre, we allocate $65,000 to them. We had the lady Leanne come to us and give us a great presentation. We're going to take $7,000 from them in rent. We'll give you 65, but come back with 7. So that just didn't quite make sense to us. And so that's one of the reasons why we thought that service clubs weren't really part of this. However, It is a policy and we can change it over time, Councillor Cornish. We want to give it a go. And when there's change, people immediately say no, and that's what's happened on this occasion. I'm very pleased that James did respond and explained how he went about those meetings with clubs. And in the main, they were cordial and so forth. Can I have a bit more time? So I don't know if that was the bell or not. But the other problem is there is a balance here. There is an equity here. And the other thing is, from my perspective, is that what we've taken out of this particular motion is 22,000, representing 10 clubs. The majority of the rents that we're talking about are with the sporting clubs.
Councillor, does that the first bell or the second? First bell. Second. It was the second bell, yeah. You have actually finished, Councillor Dawes. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Turnbull, I'm going to you.
Thank you to everybody for their input and their questions. Look, just to reiterate, first of all, I didn't acknowledge the service clubs enough, and I should, because they've done such sterling work in this community. But we've taken them out of the equation, and it's the sporting clubs that we're asking for a co-contribution from. The motion provides for a comprehensive communication and education program by council for their new agreement for all sporting clubs. And this council is fair and compassionate. They have justice, that's part of their creed. So the provision of affected tenants who want to negotiate their lease, I'm sorry, I've got a thing in my mouth because I can't talk, got rid of it. So the provision for affected tenants to negotiate their lease conditions with council in the event of hardship is very much to the fore. And as I said, our council will be looking to them and helping them through this. So I would ask that you think about the equity issues for all our ratepayers, the fact that we really do need to support them as well, because as quite a few of the clubs only have 50% of their residents in the clubs, and we have been up till now. So I would ask that you think about it and really consider it, and would you please vote for this? Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Division's been called, so those who voted in favour, please stand. And the motion was carried. Councillor Turnbull, Dawes, Wilkins, Jones, Davey, Harvey. Are you keeping up okay? Okay. Then against, Councillors Jennings, Hallett, Cornish and Henschke. Thank you. We move to the Love Where You Live. That was Councillor Dawes. Try and stay to your time limit this time, Councillor Dawes.
Yes, now I have an...
11.7, which is page 490.
Yeah. I do have an alternate motion, so I'm just going to wait for that to come up through Bronnie.
Instead of reading the entire alternate, just identify any differences and read the differences out if it remains largely the same.
Yes. So the difference, colleagues, is in number 3 on your screen, which says, notes that Council is concerned that the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan does not adequately reflect the Burnside City Master Plan, and that when addressing the state government housing targets, Council will strongly advocate for alignment with the City Master Plan with genuine opportunities for meaningful community input. I do thank Aaron for some of those words. Now, the point I'm making here is that, all right, we've got to kowtow to the Minister here. I do understand that because he's the guy in charge, but I want him to understand through this motion that we did get community consultation and they came up with this City Master Plan. We had a briefing last Tuesday and we had our consultant there and he told us that we were 800 dwellings short of the target according to the bureaucrats in the city. So he asked the question, where were they? Where were we short? They couldn't answer it. They could not answer it. No one knew where the 800 came from. And of course, the issue really comes to me, like, you know, they want more infill. I have a feeling of that. And also they want more control over the main corridors. And to me, that means probably, you know, higher level apartments on some of our main corridors. But we have already been to our residents. They've come back with their feelings. So the Minister should know that. I know that the Mayor's already said that at various forums. But I think if we leave out number 3, we're just saying, okay, Minister, we just do what you want. He needs to know that we have done the work already. And yeah, we'll go back and we'll do a little bit more on the drawing board, but we'll make sure that our community consultation is there right from the start. When I sum up, I've got some other words to also add to that, but I just wanted to first of all say those few words and then leave it open for debate.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Jennings?
Oh, happy to second this.
Right, thank you. Do you wish to speak now?
Reserve my right.
Right, thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Wilkins.
Definitely. I totally concur with Councillor Dawes and his motion. I'm appalled that the Minister who has the signature that signs off on appalling development and expecting us to accept we have to accommodate another 3,590 dwellings in the city of Burnside by 2051 is off his rocker, quite frankly. And nor should we just accept it. We have residents who would vehemently be opposed to this. We are all absolutely protective of the heritage in our community. The dwellings that have been built from the colonial times to through after war, etc., etc. We all respect the historic area overlays. Previously, it was the historic conservation zones that we have. And we're supposed to just lay down misere and just accept this. No, we have staff who actually have the knowledge to actually put together something that all the residents will want to support and us to speak strongly against. And I concur with all that Councillor Dawes has said. Particularly, I agree with Love Where You Live campaign. I also have spoken to the CEO about, I was appalled to see that Eastwood was not alongside Rose Park and Toorak Gardens, but I'm absolutely heartened to know that we will also be involved in that campaign, because I'm sure that every single resident in the historic area of Eastwood would absolutely love where they live, even though they're battling parking problems, traffic problems, but we're working on it. It's work in progress. So I commend the staff for actually speaking up for the residents of the city of Burnside in this matter, strongly speaking up. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. I'll speak to the motion. I'll support this, and sadly, item 2 about withdrawing our code amendments to protect heritage. It's a really sad day that we have to, be reading that, because a lot of work went into the city master plan, and and a lot of work went into those code amendments. And here we are today. Oh no, we'll just pull them out. We won't do this. And so we have been doing work which has just been thrown away, and we have to redo work. And I know the budget may be in the papers. I know that we haven't spent all of it that we did plan to spend to do all this stuff. But nevertheless, it's such a moving feast at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen. Everything's full of surprises. So it's going to be a surprise, I have to say, over the next 4 years when local housing plans that the state government are drawing up, when they come out, it'll be very interesting to see what we will be facing. I think in Toorak Gardens we have a local housing plan or local housing strategy already being penciled up. and there are others being penciled up across Burnside that we haven't actually seen the details of. So I hope we get to see them soon, because that's really, you know, it'll be polite, wouldn't it? Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I endorse all of the comments that have been made already, and thank Councillor Dawes for his amendment and an addition to the recommendation, which I think is fabulous. I mean, I absolutely support it, because for all the reasons that have been said, we have done a considerable amount of work. The staff have done a huge amount of work, and there's been a huge investment by our community in what we've done to date. So we have to go along with it, but I think this is registering our concerns, you know, formally. I'm also very keen that in the Love Where You Live campaign, we have some extensive workshops so that we're involved in that, because we haven't been very involved to date, and I don't want that to be developed without fairly comprehensive community input from especially the elected body. But this is a good motion, so I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Look, this is very disappointing, isn't it? It's very disappointing that the Minister has ignored the City Master Plan, which we spent a very long time, a lot of community consultation coming up with. And the most important thing about the City Master Plan was that it was balanced. It was balanced between all wards in the city of Burnside, that they all got something, and that you weren't getting gains in one area and pain in other areas. And in Beaumont Ward, in Linden Park, Councillor Hubel and I could suck up some development on arterial roads along Portrush Road and Greenhill Road in return for trade-offs that we'd get larger minimum block size away from the main roads, so that net people in Linden Park and Beaumont and St George's don't feel that they've just been sacrificed for the benefit of a few silvertails west of Portrush Road, which is what I fear is going to happen with this proposal. So I just wish to flag that it's not going to happen over my dead body. So I thank Councillor Dawes for putting this motion. I will support it, much as I'd love to tell the Minister what I think. Look, we've got another motion later in the evening, and I take the CEO's advice. It's not wise to stick two fingers up to government ministers, so I suggest we don't, and please support this motion.
Councillor Hallett.
I've got a question, please. I can't remember the name of the code amendment, but it's a state code amendment, and it was recently out on for community consultation, and in effect, I think it was talking about that you could build 4 extra stories on top of an existing rule about levels. So, for instance, along an arterial road, if you can go to 8 levels, you will now be able to go to 14 or 12, sorry, so that you can, if you provide either retirement housing on those 4 levels or affordable housing. How does that impact what we're discussing tonight?
Through the Mayor, I think what you're referring to is part of the council response that we pulled together for the Glenside Code Amendment at that stage. As part of the approvals that were in place previously, and as part of that code amendment was put in place at that time, council were advised that had the developer triggered a certain percentage of affordable housing or certain type of housing, technically they could have added an extra percentage on top of what was approved. Council provided a strong response to that as part of the response to the Glenside Code Amendment at the time, My understanding is that is no longer in place. What's been approved at this stage is the 20 stories, and they cannot go any higher than that. There's no other than the actual planning code itself, there's no other specific code amendment that allows that, so this won't affect that you're talking about.
It actually wasn't about at Burnside, it was actually about
sorry.
the whole of the state.
Oh, I think I'm on.
Apologies. No, apologies. There is also something else I've just been reminded of as well. So you're talking about the Accommodation Diversity Code Amendment. So that won't affect that. It's a complicated process. We will actually provide council with full information on this. We'll take it on notice and we'll provide that. But yeah, that allows an additional height to retirement villages or centres, but we'll provide full details on that.
Councillor Henschke, I had you down next, but Councillor Cornish to follow, but Councillor Cornish, you're at the top of the list, so I'll let you speak now.
Can I just ask, the 20-storey buildings, are they west or east of Portrush Road?
I think if the minister had it their way, that would be right around the edge of the parklands for starters.
Oh, thank you. I have a question for the administration. Just in the in the papers here, it implied the planning changes implied that established neighbourhood zones, historic overlay areas, that land could be further subdivided. Is that the intention? I understand from this whole direction that we're trying to unlock value with the inner city suburbs, and that's what the policy, state government policy, is heading towards. That's why we can't do these code amendments and things like that, because that's what the plan is. I remember reading something to that effect in these papers. I just wanted to bring this clarity to the chamber tonight.
Through the Mayor, partly, that's correct. I guess the city master plan was trying to influence growth in particular areas that was acceptable to the community, but also strengthen and increase the protection areas within other suburbs throughout the city of Burnside. I think the feedback that we got from the Minister was that he wasn't willing to accept that version of it because he didn't believe it went far enough to actually achieve the growth that has been talked about. We still have the city master plan in place. We still have the overall targets and the strategic direction that's looking for us to do. The local housing strategy that we will commence in 2026, we will work closely with council and the community to try and meet the targets of the GAP in collaboration with the minister and also with the department as much as possible, while ensuring that the city master plan intent and the community is heard while we try and reach those targets. So I think the absence of the increased protection is something that concerns us and something that we will look to address as part of this next iteration of the plan as we proceed.
Councillor Dawes.
I'm summing up? Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Jennings, did you wish to speak? Your name was up there before and then it got deleted when Councillor Hallett.
Thank you, Your Worship. The code amendment, they're putting the cart before the horse. If we're going to have 3,500 new houses, we've got no public transport on the weekend. How are people supposed to get into the city? Not everybody drives. Not everybody uses active transport. My new fiancée has been knocked off her push bike twice and does not commute by push bike anymore. Can she get to the NRA for a Sunday shift? No. Like, there is no buses, and if they want, they're going to build these monoliths in the sky, and they'll say when people live this close to the city, they won't drive. I struggle to believe them. Every time the minister that was mentioned earlier is hopping on the news and talking about popping up houses there, I'm left thinking, are they going to have sewerage? Are they going to have roads? Will they have bus services on the weekend that can get nurses, doctors, ambulance officers, police officers? The good folk who collect our rubbish, like, people need to, if people don't want more traffic, there needs to be another solution. So I'm happy to support this, and well done, Mike Dawes, on your amendment. Councillor Dawes, on your amendment. Thank you.
I did make it quite clear to Craig Colden on Thursday when there was an online mayors and CEOs, mayors workshop, and I did actually state that our community do not want this kind of development because already our schools are full. We don't have adequate public transport. We have an ageing sewerage and stormwater structures. His argument, or their argument, was that by doing these local heritage, local housing plans, we should be identifying all of these problems through our project, and so that they have got the evidence, the data that they can then use for the development. That's the answer I was given before I now move to Councillor Dawes.
Well done.
Yes, Councillor Dawes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. A very, very positive response. I'm very pleased. Just 5 points I'd just like to make. The first one is about examples of where community can really help. I do remember that we were going to put the police horses in the South Parklands, and it didn't happen, did it?
Protest.
Right, so that was a win for the residents and for the community. Now, with Glenside 20 Story, I went to 3 separate meetings, and I thought the third meeting we might get 20, 30 people. No, we didn't. We got the same number we had the first 2. It was such a strong community support. We didn't win that one. The only win we had, it can't be 26 stories, it can only be 20. It's a small win, I guess. But again, let's not forget about what the community can do here. The second point I want to make is that local housing strategy that Mr. Cant mentioned tonight, that's going to be the in word for 2026, the local housing strategy, which I guess takes over from our city master plan. So just put that in your memory bank. The third point, it is all about numbers and where they will be located. I did ask at our briefing last week for our consultant to do a spreadsheet for us to say, when we do get to the local housing strategy, where will those homes be? You know, where will the apartments be? Let's have some numbers. Don't just say, oh, we're going to put some apartments on Fullerton Road or wherever it will be. You know, I'd like to see how it actually works. So therefore, the bureaucrats in the city will say, oh, you've done your work. My last point is a bit what the Mayor was saying. You know, with all these extra buildings and extra homes and so forth, look at tree canopy, you look at open spaces, schools, as the Mayor has mentioned. The only way we're going to respond is through an evidence-based approach, and I'm sure that Aaron and his team will be doing that. But thank you for all your comments so far.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now we need... Sorry?
I think Councillor David was going to say something if we're going to eliminate.
Oh, thank you. In relation to this next matter on the agenda, item 11.8, I wish to declare a material conflict of interest as I am the subject of the report and the findings therein. And what I would also like to seek your approval of is to make a statement to Council, if I may.
I need a show of hands, those in favour of hearing the statement. All right.
So I'll make this statement before the matter goes into your consideration at 11.8. I wish to make a statement in response to the Ombudsman report and the findings of 21st of October 2025. I accept the findings and recommendations of the Ombudsman and apologise for my error of judgment in failing to appropriately manage a material conflict of interest in the Council meeting of 17th of June 2025. I respect the decision of Council on that night, and I had no intention to influence the Council debate. I believe my actions did not, in fact, influence the debate in any way. I, however, remain unsure as an ordinary Council member as to what constitutes a material conflict of interest when there is no money or pecuniary interest involved. I'm a diligent, committed and long-serving Burnside councillor, and in many of our long and intense council meetings, there are often claims of conflict of interest, such that they are seen as routine and without apparent meaning. In my experience, the common reasons for conflict of interest, usually material, which are stated when a member is standing for appointment to a committee or board and leaves the room when the vote is taken, are obvious. However, many years of training undertaken as a council member have told us that we alone are responsible for discerning and declaring any conflicts of interest in the matter being considered before us. It seems that we are now being held to a different standard that others can determine for us. I have not been found to have committed misconduct, and I look forward to undertaking training which will clarify how the requirements work in practice so that I can feel confident I do not make any further mistakes. So I will leave the room now for you to deal with the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Harvey, you withdrew it for debate?
Yes, thank you. I would like to move the motion and that Councillor Davies' apology be tabled and kept in the minutes. And I'd also... Can I also speak to it? Yep. And I'd also like to acknowledge the Ombudsman's opinion is that Councillor Davey did not commit misconduct under the Ombudsman's Act. The Ombudsman's final view is that Councillor Davey has not committed misconduct under the Ombudsman's Act. Councillor Davey has now issued an apology as requested by the Ombudsman and proposed to undertake her training. I reiterate the Ombudsman's final view is that Councillor Davey did not commit misconduct. Thank you.
I seek a seconder. You do. Councillor Wilkins, you seconding?
I think Councillor Turnbull's before.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for administration. What has been the cost to the City of Burnside for this investigation in terms of council time and resources, and also external consultative and legal fees? Thank you.
Sorry, just before we get the answer to that question, I needed a seconder. It was you, Councillor Turnbull. Right, okay, that's fine. I just got a bit confused because I had two names on the screen. So you're seconding and then you've asked a question. That's fine. I'm just clarifying for the governance officer, wanted to know. Okay. Can someone answer that question? Would you repeat the question, please?
Through the Mayor, the cost to the City of Burnside is nothing. It wasn't a City of Burnside investigation.
The cost in terms of time, resources and money?
Again, the cost is nothing. It wasn't performed by the City of Burnside.
The Ombudsman did the investigation, so there was no cost to the council.
Was there some time spent though?
Through the Mayor, there was no cost to the City of Burnside. No time, no legal advice required, nothing like that.
Did you wish to speak in seconding?
Through the Mayor, my apologies. There was time in just putting the covering report and putting the report to council.
I'll come back to you.
I have a question, please, Mayor. And it's for clarification. Was that an apology or not? I didn't hear an apology, so...
Well, there was an apology provided.
I must have missed it. I thought it was an explanation of...
Well, it was a combination of both, okay, but it didn't begin with an apology.
And through the Mayor, just to clarify that, it'll be the Ombudsman that determines if it was an appropriate apology or not.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Happy to support the motion, but I actually think there's a slight issue with the Act and the Act not actually keeping up with technology. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, because I'm pretty certain that the rationale for people to remove themselves from the chamber to have a conflict of interest is to limit undue influence from them sitting in the gallery and you know, gestating to people and how they should be voting and screaming and yelling about certain things. And in this instance, I don't think Councillor Davey did any of that. She was just watching it using technology in a different room. So I kind of figure that, and if she wasn't doing it live, she could have done it 3 days later and no one would have picked it up and it wouldn't have been a breach. I actually, you know, the intent is to stop the undue influence, and I think this is where the Act has not kept up with technology, and we choose to live stream. We could say, no, let's not live stream and we'll just record it and post it up the next day. But we've done that for our community so that a lot of community members can watch at home. But I really do think that there might be an opportunity here where we can write to the Minister and ask for an amendment or for them to look at that section of the Act, because I think the intent is more about undue influence on the other of everyone else in the chamber. And I think unfortunately Councillor Davies been caught up in probably a draconian, you know, component of the Act is where I'm sort of saying, you know, granted that's what the Act says right now, and she's you know, she didn't follow it. She's accepted, she's apologised, but I actually think there's fundamentally something wrong with the Act that needs to be addressed because of technology. That's where I'm sitting. Thanks.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you. I find it all a bit sad, really, this whole thing. Recently, Council spent $60,000 on a report which was tasked with identifying the cause of and trying to heal the fractured relationships in this council so that we could all move on and govern collaboratively. Then something as trivial as this rears its ugly head, we're back to square one. An anonymous person or persons reporting Councillor Dave for using her laptop whilst in purgatory, I mean the CM room, as her case was being heard in the chamber. An overzealous reaction to a minor breach, not a gesture towards healing the council, more like creating further division, and not to mention targeting one particular councillor. Please, Mr. or Ms. Anonymous, whoever you are, focus on positive actions which could actually benefit our residents. Let's accept the apology and move on. Thank you.
Councillor Jones. Councillor Turnbull, can you turn your mic off, please?
Yes, well said, Councillor Cornish. What a waste of time and money. And this is, look, I'm voting against this because the Ombudsman, in fact, in the report says, well, the Act doesn't mention watching live streams, and the Ombudsman has taken, not for the first time, an extreme and tendentious interpretation of the law to come up with this ridiculous verdict. And let's face it, they have form for this. This is the Christmas Grinch who banned council staff Christmas parties, and I don't think there is a single member of this council who begrudges council staff the modest Yuletide celebration that they used to have. So my advice, CEO, is have it, and we'll take it out with the Ombudsman. But you probably won't do that, but that's what they deserve. Look, this is just stupid. If somebody saw Councillor Davey watching the live stream and thought she shouldn't be doing it, why not go and tell her and say, Jane, there's an interpretation that you probably shouldn't be doing this. Bit of common sense. I remember in my first term, we had a ludicrous complaint against the mayor, who very sensibly told the then CEO to stop wasting money. And instead of saying to the mayor, Mayor, you're not actually allowed to do that. You're supposed to pass a motion telling me to stop wasting money. We had a ludicrous situation where it was passed to a councillor to make a complaint, and it went on for months and months. It just poisoned the council, and somebody could have just resolved it very sensibly in a common sense fashion. So why don't we do that, people? Let's resolve these things sensibly and informally before subjecting people to this horrible process, because as soon as you get lawyers and ombudsmen involved, they always take the stupidest interpretation of the law that they can, and we get people having to make apologies for things like, there's the report saying Councillor Davey breached the trust of council. Oh, give me a break. Breach anybody's trust. She certainly didn't influence me by watching the live stream, because I didn't know she was watching the live stream. So how on earth was she influencing me? You know, as Councillor Cornish said, if she'd been sitting there glaring at me, I get that might have influenced me, probably not. You know, and some people, the fact that Councillor Davey was glaring at them would probably encourage them to vote to convict her. So, look, I think this is total nonsense. I think you should take a stand and vote against it.
Councillor Jen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we just do the recommendation and let's move forward. Come on, please, 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 move forward. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for your sensible dialogue. And thank you, Councillor Cornish, for trying to make some sort of sense out of such a ridiculous complaint to the Ombudsman. As Councillor Cornish said, none of us even saw Councillor Davey. She wasn't in the room, she wasn't glaring at us, and she was in another room. And the fact that she watched it, she could have returned to the chamber and watched it a minute later. What is the difference? I don't understand. But thank you, Councillor Cornish, for actually putting that idea forward. I totally agree that that needs to be done. It doesn't make sense, as everybody has mentioned. It's a storm in a teacup and we need to move on. Councillor Davey has done her apology. She is going to actually do her training as recommended by the Ombudsman. End of story. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. And could we ask Councillor Davey to return? Councillor Davey, it's now 11.9 and you withdrew it for debate. Delbridge Court, page 526.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an alternate motion which has come through.
You've already submitted it, have you?
That's right. We're on 11.9. So I'll read the motion because it's a bit different. Council notes the community consultation regarding the proposed revocation of the community land classification for Delbridge Court Reserve Beaumont, being allotment 718 in deposited plan 94328, comprising the whole of the land contained in the Certificate of Title, Volume 6146, Folio 905. 2, does not agree to the sale of the community land as it was vested to the City of Burnside as open space in 2007, and the donors wish to have first option to purchase it back as they did not give the land to facilitate a subdivision proposal in the area, which will significantly benefit the applicants at 6 Evelyn Court, Beaumont. 3, notes it is public open space for the benefit of the environment and the community and is not an asset for easy disposal, and contacts all respondents to the public consultation to advise them of Council's determination. Our policy, City of Burnside's open space policy, which we last reviewed in 2022, is clear that open space, however small, exists to enhance landscape amenity and protect and enhance the open space network. It also requires that open space is not an asset for easy disposal, and also that consideration of sale of open space will not be made to support or enable subdivision. This proposal that we've been given is contrary to City of Burnside policy and should not, I believe, proceed. While acknowledging its size and that a narrow strip, the land, as I said, was gifted to the City of Burnside as community land less than 20 years ago. And City of Burnside, as custodians of open space, need to respect and acknowledge this, which should not be compromised by an opportunistic application to enable a subdivision by an adjacent landowner to likely generate significant profit. Sale of this land sets a bad precedent, not a good precedent for the City of Burnside, and the original donors should be given the opportunity to reacquire the land as they have requested. I ask you to support this proposal and not go ahead with the original proposal that was put up. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Harvey?
I reserve my right, thank you.
Right. So, but you are seconding?
Yes.
Councillor Dawes?
I have a question for administration,
Okay.
and obviously it's about point 2. I just want to understand the donors wish to have first option to purchase. Can just explain whether that is a true statement or not?
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. The reserve land was created around in 2007. It was part of a broader land division process that created Delbridge Court and a number of other residential allotments in the area. Prior to that, it was a larger piece of land, and it was obviously the pre-development phase. When this land was created as a reserve in Council's land, it's understood that it was to restrict access to Delbridge Court from the rear of 6 Evelyn Court. Obviously that's a large residential property. We see these kinds of reserves created across the city where there is an intent to limit the amount of traffic spilling out onto a new road development, so I'm sure that there was some consideration of that at the time. Obviously as part of the previous report that was presented to Council when this came to the Chamber, I believe, in July, there's new traffic data to suggest that's not an issue, which is why we're currently considering this at this point in time. As that land was created as a reserve in 2007, it is vested solely in Council's ownership. It's not a tied grant of land. There's no expectation of it being returned at any point unless Council chose to do so, which would be done so at its own discretion.
Councillor Davey?
Thank you, Mayor. Could I also make a declaration? I omitted to do this at the beginning of the, when I moved the motion, that I actually have a general conflict of interest in this matter as I participated in the community consultation process, but I'm happy to and will stay in Council and participate in the debate and vote on the debate. So it's a general conflict of interest I have because I've previously participated. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I have a question, if I may. I'm trying to get a handle on whether this is something that happens all the time when people develop new tracts of land that they put in this kind of 5 centimetre strip that you would see? Is this something that you'd see all over the metro area when people do new developments, to say so much development on this new road but no more? Or is this just like something you've never ever come across?
Through the Mayor, we are aware of other small portions of community land that are put in place. We actually have a community land management plan for walkways and screening reserves. That's what this land currently sits under, and what it does is it creates a screen or a vehicle restriction between a private property and a road. Obviously this is only 10 centimetres wide, so there's limited opportunity for an alternate purpose that it could be used. Sometimes those screening reserves might be for a vegetation screen. But yes, we do see them throughout the city of Burnside and the metro area. They may not be used as frequently anymore because I think developers are being asked to make more of a substantial contribution to open space these days, so that they're looking to put those pieces of land into a central portion to meet that quota.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry if I missed it, but could you please tell me, at current market prices for the land in this area, how much this would be worth when sold?
Through the Mayor, at this point in time, market valuation of the land has not been undertaken. The Council's open space policy will require 2 valuations to be completed. If Council proceeds with the recommendation, the officer's recommendation that was put up, the next step of the process would be to seek ministerial approval. If that ministerial approval is supported, at that point in time we'd look to undertake those valuations at the cost of the applicants. The applicants have expressed an interest at the early part of this process. They did not wish to incur costs early on in the process that could be avoided if the application doesn't proceed to that point in time, which is considered fairly reasonable approach and quite similar to other processes. So yes, there will be market valuations that will be presented to Council in the future if it gets to that point, but at this stage we've not incurred those costs.
Councillor Hench.
I have a question, Mayor, for the administration. Putting it in perspective, this 10 centimetre strip of land compared to what was the square meterage of the land, community land at the Fruval Shopping Centre that we revoked? That was hundreds of square metres, wasn't it? Or 100 and something. I'm just putting it in perspective because the number of square metres here is quite small compared to what we've revoked elsewhere. And I'm hearing in the debate that we shouldn't be even doing this because it's community land, where we've already done this this last year. Pardon?
Through the Mayor, yes, this strip of land is 10 centimetres wide and 50 metres long, so it's 5 square metres. In terms of the road reserve land at Main Avenue in Fruval, from memory, that's just over 500 square metres. That process isn't finalised as yet, and there will be a report coming back to Council in the next month or so for that to be considered, or early next year. So there'll be an opportunity for Council to consider whether it wishes to proceed with that matter. But it is a slightly different scenario where that's road reserve, this is community land. But, yeah.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. A few questions, I'm sorry, about this. We've got a comment in there about the subdivision and that this is required for the subdivision. Is that accurate, or could the property owner actually subdivide without this 5 square metres or less than a 1 paver of bricks width?
Through the Mayor, based on my understanding of land division requirements for that part of the city, 6 Evelyn Court is large enough to be subdivided into 2 or 3 allotments. Currently what they don't have access to is Delbridge Court. The actual layout, the topography of that site would make it challenging for a land division to be achieved. But of course, anything's possible with engineering and money, so it could definitely be divided without this land.
My second question, there are 3 other houses further down Delbridge Court that have access both to Delbridge Court side and to the above road, Duncan Road, which Evelyn runs off of. Have we done any checking to see whether or not they've just gone and put a driveway over our 5 centimetre or 10 centimetre strip, which I assume they have, and we haven't done appropriate right-of-ways on those properties?
Through the Mayor, the other properties in this location aren't similarly restricted by the Community Land Reserve. This is the sole property that's been restricted from Delbridge with the reserve along its entire boundary. Sorry, and the question in relation to easements, could you repeat that, sorry?
Whether or not the right-of-ways, well, you've basically answered the question saying that it's only this component of Delbridge Court.
Just to confirm, this was put in by the developer of those properties, so that was just to restrict the development or access from those properties onto Delbridge, but the developer actually permitted the development of the rest of those properties that you're referring to.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else on the list?
Yes.
Okay, I will go back to the end of the list. I do have another question. So,
Councillor Hallett, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't support this Councillor Davies' recommendations, and the reason I don't is because when we surveyed or engaged with local residents, the majority actually supported the sale of the land to the proposed developer. A housing outcome for the site does contribute to meeting our GARP housing deliverables. I can't see personally that block or that space provides any environmental benefits or habitat benefits. I think a good outcome would be housing. And the other thing is that it's a slither of land. It's 10 centimetres. And I think we should be facilitating development of the site rather than leaving it. Other than that, we'd have to look at purchasing it ourselves and turning it into an official open space or habitat area or recreation. And what would something as steep as that, the only thing I could think of that could go in there would be something like a BMX track. I can't see that it's got any value for council. It's going to cost us money unless we allow them to do this. And so that's why I can't support the revised recommendations.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davey, for bringing the amended motion. I cannot support this motion. So in the current housing climate, there is a thing called land hoarding, where people buy a smallish block of land and they hold on to it. And they can afford to hold on to it, and they can hold on to it, and then they can buy the house next door, then they can buy the house next door, and then all of a sudden they've got 3,000 square metres of land, and they can go to the state government and ask for whatever the special planning is that goes beyond what council can do. So with the original recommendation, I think it is fabulous, because we've been asked by GUT to provide each suburb 598.333 recurring houses, and by subdividing their block, they're going to add another 3 houses. And that also is good, because the city of Burnside will then be receiving another 3 lots of rates, which is always good for the bottom line. I thank Councillor Davey for the amended motion, and I won't support it, and I will think we should bring back the original one. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Sorry, additional questions. I remember the owners of Evelyn Court actually requested a right-of-way to begin with over our 10 centimetre property. If this motion gets up, is that still a possibility?
Through the Mayor, yes, that is a possible outcome, but it would require further council approval for that to occur.
Yep. Second question, is there a possibility that council could decide to change this reserve into a road reserve and put one brick on the footpath to extend the footpath by the width of one brick? Sorry, a brick is 11 centimetres. It's not 10 centimetres wide, well, the narrow side. So is that a possibility as well, that the council transfers the reserve into road reserve and then lays one brick on it sideways down the side?
Through the Mayor, yes, again, it's possible for the community land classification to be revoked and for the land to become road reserve if that was council's wish. I would think that council would need to be pretty sure as to what it was trying to achieve as an outcome for that purpose. If it wishes it to become road reserve, theoretically that provides the frontage for Evelyn Court in any event and would potentially lead to the development. So I think that's something for council to consider.
I'll speak to the motion now. I won't support the motion. I've heard that the development could go ahead with or without this 10 centimetres. They just need to have access potentially through their Evelyn Court driveway. Maybe they make that community title themselves, shared use driveways. A lot of places have shared use driveways, and it could get to the two properties at the lower end of this block. Or alternatively, they could ask for a right-of-way over 10 centimetres so that their cars can go from Delbridge into their driveways or carports. Or alternatively, we extend the road reserve, and that also brings the crossover straight up to the property line. I think the easiest way is the officer's recommendation is to sell the 5 metres of square metres of land to the owners so that it's actually in their property. They can actually grow some nice stuff on it for gardens on that side or frontage rather than us doing, I don't know, some nice grasses. That would probably be, I think, about the only thing 10 centimetres we could actually put in. But the owner's probably going to be putting in grasses anyway in their front lawns. So I don't see the real need for us to revoke this and not go through with a community sale at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Davey, you have a question?
Thank you. Yes, just a couple of questions. In terms of the Open Space Fund, can you remind me how much is in the Open Space Fund, and then how much it's likely to be topped up by this sale? And two, there was a question about the previous owner, and for everybody's information, page 554, in the consultation period, the previous owner made a submission about the revocation of the land and described how they vested the land with council in 2007. So that's there on page 554.
Through the Mayor, the current balance of the Open Space Reserve Fund is approximately $149,000. As indicated in a previous response, we've not undertaken market valuations for the land as yet, if it was to proceed to a sale. So we don't know what that is yet, but of course it would be a market value as set by an independent licensed valuer for the advice of council, but then council can choose to accept what the minimum sale price would be in any event. in relation to the feedback that's been provided through the consultation. We are aware that that was the position of one of the respondents and the apparent former owner of the land, and that's their position. The land became council-owned through a development application process, through a land division, and it's now been vested in council.
Councillor Wilkin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, following on from that, I'm just reading page 10 of the report, 546 of 750 pages, and this is where the previous owners vested the reserve with council to facilitate open space because Mr. ... said he would never develop his land. We put the infrastructure in to facilitate the allotments that had already been approved, not to take another 3 allotments. That person can gain access of Evelyn Street, Beaumont, if they wish to subdivide. There is no need to sell the reserve to him. It's community land. The whole of the community should have their say, not just the residents in Delbridge Court. They gifted it to council as open space. Page 10 on this particular report, 546. So, no, I support Jane's motion.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. As Councillor Davey has just mentioned, on page 554, there is an email to James Brennan. We are in receipt of Council's community consultation letter for a proposal to revoke community land at Delbridge Court, Beaumont. We vested the land with Council some time ago. We are now aware that Mr Billington of 6 Evelyn Court, Beaumont, has asked Council to sell him the reserve to enable him to subdivide the land. Now that we have become aware that Council may be prepared to sell the reserve, we wish to advise you that we would like to purchase that piece of land, being the original owners. We don't believe the reserve should be sold to facilitate subdivision, but in the event that Council decide to sell it, we wish to purchase it. We prefer that the reserve stay as is. We feel that selling it sets a precedent and more community land will be sold by Council, but we reiterate that being the original owners, we would like to purchase it and leave it as is. I will be supporting this motion for the original owners. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I got another question, please. Page 546. And I preface my remarks by suggesting that I think if there's going to be any subdevelopment, the new dwellings will be accessing Delbridge Court rather than Evelyn Court, based on the topography. So my question is, based on 546, residents have raised potential concerns with traffic congestion and inadequate power supply. Is there traffic congestion on Delbridge Court, and is power supply an insurmountable problem?
Through the Mayor, to answer your question, not that we're aware of. As part of the previous report that was presented to Council, there were some traffic management advice by consultants provided through that. They showed how orderly access could be provided into Delbridge from allotments if they were created on the lower piece of 6 Evelyn Court. But of course, any consideration around that piece would have to be fully assessed through the development process in any event, and that would be a matter for our planning team to determine if there are any issues and how that could be accommodated through that.
Councillor Cornish, you have another question?
A question, yes. I just wondered, with previous owners having rights in terms of what can be done with their former land, would we be listening to Cedar Woods on all the reserves? I'm serious. Will they have rights, about what we can do on in those areas that then become vested in council?
Can I just say, I think that you have to look at the balance of across the board all the community submissions. Councillor Jennings.
Thank you. I've got just a question, since we're talking about electricity supply and traffic. How will the house numbering work on Delbridge Court? I'm thinking of the post person and the Uber people. This is troubling.
I don't think that's a problem for us right now. Councillor Jones. Question?
No, I'm going to speak to this. Look.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to preface my remarks. If you go back to the start of this council, the CEO, Mr. Cowley, he prepared a little blue book for council staff and all the incoming councillors. The comment against my name was, "We'll never sell community land." But even I am stretched to refuse to sell this community land, because I have to say, this open space is somebody else's garden. It's not like it's a reserve that the developer has sort of bought and said, "I'm giving this open space to the residents of Delbridge Court." The open space is somebody else's garden that is effectively given to the residents by this strange community land. So I think that's a bit off. And when you look at the community feedback, because I have to say, in my view, Delbridge Court is not the nicest street in my ward, let alone Burnside Council. And 2/3 of them don't care about losing that little patch of green, and they're obviously happy living in, a collection of what look like car parks. The Burnside Historical Society, where they knocked down that beautiful shop and put up that horrid car park. So, I voted for this to go to community consultation because I wanted to know what the residents of Delbridge Court thought, and 2/3 of them are happy to have extra development on their street. I'm deeply sceptical about traffic congestion on Delbridge Court. Having been to it a number of times, it's not exactly it's not Portrush Road or Spaghetti Junction. And I have to say, the developer continues to develop new houses further up the hill. So if there's a traffic problem now, you wonder why he's not giving up. So, look, I have to say, very reluctantly, I'm going to vote, I think I'm voting against this motion.
I'm going to go back now to Councillor Davey, who ran the motion to begin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your interest and comments. I recognise that there are many divergent views, especially in the around the table, but also in the community in this area. And these depend on where you live in the area. Some of those current owners in Evelyn Court purchased their homes on the understanding that the reserve existed and that the land could not be subdivided, and that this was a significant factor in them making their homes there, so they don't agree that it should be sold off for private gain. I, too, as I said in my introduction, don't believe that we should be ignoring our policy for open space, and I think this sets, in governance terms, it sets not a good precedent for our community. So I hope you'll support the motion. All we can do is we need orderly development. I understand the arguments about wanting extra houses. The thing is, the houses that are being built there are huge, with often one or two or small families in them. I just don't think we should be supporting, in the bottom line, we shouldn't be selling community land to support subdivision. and I think this is a dangerous precedent if we do that. So I hope you'll support this. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. I seek someone to move the original motion. Councillor Dawes.
I will move the motion. I do not want to speak.
Okay, you don't need to speak. I need a seconder. Councillor Jennings, you're seconding.
I'll second and reserve my right.
Okay. Councillor, the others have all disappeared. Does anyone wish to speak on this, or can I put the motion? The mover, Councillor Dawes? Councillor Dawes? No. Councillor Jennings, do you wish to speak?
No, I think we should put the motion.
All right, then if you're happy with that, Councillor Dawes, I will put the motion. All those in favour of the original tabled motion? Those against? Division's been called. So those who voted in favour, please stand. In favour, Councillor, and the motion was carried, Councillor Dawes, Jennings, Jones, Councillor Hallett, Cornish and Henschke. Those against, Councillors Harvey, Davey, Wilkins and Turnbull. Did you get all of those? Thank you. Now I'm going to suggest that we have a 10-minute break now. I don't know how long it will take us to do the last two reports, but Councillor Dawes, you're moving so. Right, I just going to get an indication of hands to have a break. Okay, we'll have a break. 10 minutes. It's 9:11. We come back at 9:21. 2921, we're due to start again, and it's Councillor Turnbull. 11.14, page 691. Page 691, Councillor Turnbull.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Mayor. I would like to move that recommendation number 2, parts A and B, are removed from this recommendation and brought to Council for discussion. And if I read it all out, it'll take me a long time, but it's the one about the City of Victor Harbor advocating for meaningful reform to strengthen local government in South Australia. I don't think it's our role to be part of that. I think it's a rather didactic motion like this. It's not something I'd vote for or put my name to at this point. Surely it's not our role as a local government councillors. The implications are political, something which we should avoid so as not to show bias. I would like this to be debated as a separate motion by Council, at least discussed, part of a workshop, so we can understand the implications and voice our own opinions. To vote for this is to be told what to do by the Mayor of another council. I would also like to know if the Council of Victor Harbor have voted in favour of this, and I disagree that Burnside Council should just follow suit. Look, we might agree it's a good idea, but we need to discuss it before a decision is made. Much too premature and presumptive. So I hope you support the fact that the removal of this for further discussion.
So you're just moving point 1? Right. I seek a seconder then. Councillor Harvey?
Yes, I'll second.
Wish to speak?
And I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Councillor Dawes?
Yeah, I had a problem, I have to say, with 2A2, which was asking whether the Minister would take personal responsibility. I've never ever come across a parliamentarian taking personal responsibility for anything. It's always someone else's fault. But yeah, I agree with Councillor Turnbull. I didn't know she was going to move this tonight, but I was going to ask the question. You know, I was going to ask the question, you know, like, is this, you know, like, where does this come from? So yeah, I do believe it's best for us to put it on the agenda for the December meeting.
I'm just wondering if you're wanting it to go in, then it ought to be added to the, it should be a part of the motion if you're wanting to take action. If you want to just drop it completely, then that's what you've done now, I believe. That's it. We're not going to discuss it. We're not going to respond. We're just going to say, sorry, we don't support it. Okay, that's fine. Now, if that's, I think that's what this says at the moment, because if you want another direction, you need to add something to this motion.
I'm sorry, I don't understand why we can't
So,
actually have a workshop on it.
Well,
through the Mayor, I can
please.
clarify. I think the Mayor is trying to clarify through the discussion. Councillor Turnbull, you've suggested a workshop. Councillor Mike Dawes has suggested it coming to the December meeting. So we're just seeking whether we need to put some further information into the current motion.
Otherwise, this is just dead. We leave it. It dies. Well, I need the seconder to decide. Yes. Sorry. I need the mover and the seconder to decide what they want. And Councillor Harvey, do you agree with Councillor Turnbull as the seconder? All right. So we just remove it and we just go with that councillor notes. Okay. Happy with that? Now, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on it? Councillor Wilkins, your name is still on here. Oh, sorry, Councillor Davies first.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Turnbull, for your motion. Yes, I support this. I think this is rather unusual. If another council was writing to us to say they'd made this decision and could we support them, it would have more validity. Or if they were writing to the LGA, because I think this is the sort of policy issue which should be going to which the LGA should be representing us on. So whether it should go to the Local Government Association AGM, it just looks like it's out of order, I think, and it's just not appropriate, and particularly the issue of asking about the minister whether he'll take personal responsibility. It's very unusual. Plus, if we have to, it's essentially a motion on notice without all the information. We don't know where it's come or why, or it says we believe, but it's just the mayor writing. So to me, it doesn't have enough heft, it doesn't have enough rationale, and it's going outside the policy and other processes for lobbying, which on these issues, which are very important, which I think we should be following. So I support that. One other thing I'd like to say in terms of the list of activities of the mayor, one of the ones that I was very proud of, that we attended on the 23rd of October, when 4 representatives of the City of Burnside attended the Local Government Women's Association celebrations, 20-year celebrations, because Councillor Wilkins, Councillor Harvey and myself also attended, and met the Governor and the Governor-General, who was in town at the time and who was great fun. But one of the features, the best parts, was who should come out as now one of the Governor-General's aides, but Rob Dabrowski, who used to work with us for many years, who left us 3.5 years ago, went to work for the Minister for Health, Mark Butler, and he has gone from there to become an aide to the Governor-General in Canberra. So it was lovely to catch up with him. So it was a fabulous celebration. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins.
Oh, yes, I was going to support Councillor Turnbull and for noting the Mayor's activity report, lengthy as it was, and mentioning the reception that we went to. But I totally approve of deleting all of point 2. It is, if that's something that the Council of Victor Harbour want to do, well and good. But to actually commandeer us to support them, no, I don't approve of that. And certainly not supporting the Minister of Local Government. People will nominate for council elections when they want to, and voter participation will increase because of the actions that we've all taken in our local communities, not because a minister is telling us to do so. So I totally approve of the Mayor's activity report. I'm pleased that point 2 is gone forever. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go back now to Councillor Turnbull, unless you do wish to speak, Councillor Harvey. All right, Councillor Turnbull, you wish me to move? Sorry, I'm sorry, there's 2 more names that have appeared since I started speaking. All right, Councillor Jennings, and then there's Councillor Hallett, and then there's Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your discussions with the Mayor of Victor Harbour, was the...
I had no discussion.
Okay, no, okay.
So this letter came out of the blue.
Well, I'd like to see the Seaford line extended out to Victor Harbour, but thank you.
Now, Councillor Hallett.
I don't support the revised recommendation because I support the original one. And the reason why is, didn't we write to other councils seeking their support in regard to the bypass? So this is just the same. This is the Mayor writing on behalf of her council, and I agree with it. I think the Minister needs that. The report they released about local government reforms was just tinkering with the edges. It didn't come up with anything. And I think that we absolutely have to do things to attract better participation in the elections and to attract a more representative group of councillors. So I support the original and I don't support the changes. And I think that, you know, saying that it's unusual to get the letter from the Mayor on behalf of the Victor Harbour Council just ignores that we do exactly the same thing.
Councillor Jones.
The issue I have with this letter is it's very vague. and that if you wrote to the Minister saying we're advocating for meaningful reform, he'll say, that's exactly what I've just done. And if you don't like the reforms, then you need to spell out what you don't like and what you actually think we should have. I think point 2 is rude to the point of impertinence, and, you know, is it a good idea to upset ministers when we're asking for state government support for things? Possibly not. Is it likely to lead to a retort saying, why would I want to strengthen local government? It'll just lead to more mayors flying around the world to conferences at ratepayers' expense. What I should be doing is weakening local government so they can stop wasting ratepayers' money. So, look, I understand the sentiment behind it, but it's too vague and it's too rude, and so I don't think it's a good idea.
Right, now, Councillor Turnbull. Nothing else to say? I'll put the motion. All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Can you turn your mic off, please, Councillor Turnbull?
Oh, sorry.
All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Right, thank you. Now we move to the last one, which is the CEO report, 1115, page 697. And that was Councillor Jones.
Yes, I have an alternative motion, which is very simple change. For number 4, replace the word endorses with does not endorse. Now, do you need time to type that in? Okay, I'll speak to...
Excuse me, Councillor Jones. Before we proceed, given that we do have a recommendation regarding recommendation 3, which is approving the attendance of the Mayor at the upcoming Principal Member Forum this Thursday, the Mayor will need to declare a conflict of interest, and I will need to ask for someone to nominate to chair this item.
I have to declare a material conflict of interest and I have to leave the room, so someone will have to chair this item.
I have a perceived conflict of interest because I'm on the board of East West with number 4, but I will remain in the chamber and vote.
Okay, can I seek someone to nominate to chair, or someone to nominate someone to chair?
No, I'm not nominating. Sorry, I thought I was speaking. Because I'm going to speak to my motions, it's that hard to chair the meeting.
Oh, thank you, but no thanks, because I've got another amendment. Thank you.
Okay, we're all supporting, show of hands for Councillor Wilkins.
Councillor Jones, would you like to continue?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Burnside Council has a register of interests and it is published on our website. East Waste have a register of interests and for some reason it's not on their website, for reasons I don't fully understand, given that all but one board member is a councillor and therefore their register of interest is on their council website. So this register of interest already exists, so it costs no work to prepare. And if a member of the public wants it, they will email them a PDF copy, which costs East Waste nothing. And they are proposing a $25 fee to email someone a PDF of a document that already exists. This is totally outrageous. This is just deliberately making it difficult for the public to get information that should be publicly available. So I cannot support it. It's like demanding outrageous freedom of information costs to make an application. Oh, you can make an FOI, but it's $1,000. So it puts people off doing it. It's anti-transparency. East Waste should be ashamed, frankly. So I hope you will support my motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Davey, looks like you're next on the list.
Thank you. I'm happy to second this, Madam Presiding Member. And I have a small amendment to number 3. We don't have any information about, well, I have a question about how many Mayor's Forums hosted by the LGA are scheduled for the next 12 months. I'm very happy to approve the attendance of the Mayor at the next one, but I don't see why we should be giving carte blanche. They seem to me to be a new initiative. I don't know anything about them and what's going on. So I would like to amend 3 to be approves the attendance of the Mayor at the next Principal Members Forum hosted by LGA Training, and delete until the commencement of the caretaker period.
Through the Mayor, just from a technicality, the seconder to a motion can't move an amendment. But to answer your question, there is 2 LGA forums. So if you're satisfied, or if council's satisfied to allow the Mayor to go to the 2 forums, then the motion should be able to stand as it is. The cost for them is...
Yes. Sorry. Comment? I'll ask Mr. Matt to actually explain. Yes.
Through the Mayor, the cost for the conference is $620 per day. So there's one that is this Thursday, I believe, that will be a 1-day conference, and then the following one is 2 days.
Thank you, Matt.
So I can ask...
Councillor
so I can't second the motion.
Through the Mayor, you've seconded the motion. So you cannot amend the motion if you're seconding the motion.
Okay, thanks.
Through the Chair, can I just clarify for Councillor Jones that while it is you mentioned a PDF, it would, a lot of these, the letter talks about providing a copy, which would also mean a hard copy, and either printing a hard copy and sending it. So that is not unusual for an organisation to charge an administration fee such as that. But it doesn't specify that in his letter. It does, it says to provide a copy.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wilkins. With point 4, what our eloquent CEO pointed out was the $25 fee, and I'm assuming that is finding the register, printing the register, alerting all people that have put in their interests. It would probably take half an hour of Vanessa's time, and then you've also got the exorbitant postal cost of sending a express letter, which is it's going to get very close to $25 unless it's an email. So if they want a hard copy, I think this $25 is very fair. But if it's a PDF they want emailed, free as a bird. Thank you.
Any further speakers?
So have we resolved the amendment yet? So have we voted on the amendment?
Through the Mayor, there has been no amendment because Councillor Davey was not able to do so because she seconded the motion. So there is no amendment.
There's no. Right.
So it is your alternate motion right now.
Okay. Well, I've got a question then. My understanding was that elected members have a certain training allowance. I've never used mine. Do I need to get council's approval to use my training allowance for training, or do we have to have a motion?
Through the Mayor, to answer your question, anything that exceeds $750 does require a council approval. It's within the CEO's delegation to approve training for you if it's below the $750. Because in Quantum, because it's asking for 2 of these events, which together exceeds the $750, that's why it's in front of you. Then through the Mayor, one other consideration is that there is a number of council members that have not used their allocation. So this won't be a cost pressure per se because it'll come out of the bucket of training allowance.
Councillor Hallett, you've got...
Yeah, I've got a question, and that relates to what Councillor Jones said, that our own register of interest is on our website. Is that true? And where is it? What part of the website?
Through the acting presiding member, it's under our registers page.
Resident page.
Registers.
Register, okay, thank you. Thank you, that's all.
Peter Cornish, Councillor Cornish.
Thanks. Thank you, presiding member. I won't support the motion. I actually think a $25 fee is fine because if they're not charging the $25 fee and we do have postage, we do have time, our ratepayers are going to have to be footing that bill for any other council member of the public from the council. All the other councils are part of East Waste, and that's, you know, a large area. You know, they'll get it for free and our ratepayers are going to be paying for it. So we've done something tonight about cost recovery with our sports clubs, but we're okay to give other members of the public that don't even live in the city of Burnside a free, you know, postage of a register that would actually cost us through having to chip in more fees to East Waste to cover that administrative cost. So I've got no issue with them charging a $25 fee if someone wants that register, because it means our ratepayers aren't paying for it.
Councillor Dawes, you wish to speak?
Yes, acting presiding officer. I may have lost it, Mr. Spearman, but in regards to number 3, there are 2 forums, and the second forum is a 3-day forum.
The second conference is a 2-day forum.
2-day forum. I'm glad I didn't know what you're giving me there. And is that the AGM of the LGA, or is it another training forum? Can you just explain that? Because I've just gone through the papers here. There's no mention of it. It's definitely a 2-day mayor's conference or mayor's forum. I cannot recall if it's actually got an AGM involved with it as well. So there's no details published on the second forum just yet, only the dates that's available. But I don't believe that it's an AGM. And when is that?
The date was published, it's in 2027.
2026.
Oh, sorry, 2026,
Okay.
mind you, February.
Thank you very much.
And I have a question, two questions, if I may.
Question, Councillor David.
Thank you. I am bemused by the Register of Interests issue. Do we charge if people contact us and want a copy of our Register of Interest? It's all there, they're all listed and all very well updated and kept up to date on our website. Does anyone request a copy of them and then we post them out to them? Or any other documents? I know we have built into our policies a cost. I think they've got to be available free of charge. I still haven't seen the justification for a $25 fee for a Register of Interests. And why isn't it on the website?
Through the Mayor, through the Mayor, Council is required to publish this, and it needs to be free of charge. That's what we have to do. In terms of East West, it's not actually in their charter that they're required to publish it.
Through the Chair as well, they are actually following legislation, and I did send out an email with, Section 72.4 or Section 74.2, where the subsidiary is able to provide a copy at a fee. So they are compliant with the legislative arrangements for the subsidiaries in dealing with this matter.
Councillor Harvey.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Acting Elected Member. I just want to confirm this 2-day forum. Is that for this Thursday, the Mayor's Forum and the AGM, or is it next year?
Through the Acting Presiding Member, to be perfectly clear, the one that's this week is a 1-day forum, and the one that is in February is the 2-day forum.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Henschke, you're...
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Jennings and Councillor Cornish. $25. Look, strata managers charge $44 just to raise a work order these days, you know, so it's just nothing, you know, really we're arguing about nothing, and we can't be subsidising, ratepayers can't subsidise requests for this, so I agree with Councillor Jennings and Cornish, and we can just put the motion, I hope.
I've still got a question. Thank you. I appreciate the CEO's comments about East West, but aren't there corporate affairs requirements and major corporations requirements for publishing information for shareholders and people of interest? I would have thought that any company operating must have to publish a register of interests, and if not, why not?
Through the Acting Presiding Member, the Charter does not require, as Matt has just mentioned, the Charter does not require it of them, and they are falling under the Local Government Act 1999, and so it's under section, as I mentioned, 74 or 72, where it talks about that they can provide register of interest or documents for a fee. Just to add one more clarification, that with regard to the publishing of register of interest, and I think Councillor Jones raised in an email correspondence around transparency, that is something that we can certainly take up with East West.
Councillor Jennings.
I'll be happy to get in contact with Leo, the CEO, and see if they can get their website updated. They are doing some great stuff with this, with their Leo Leonard.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. You've spoken twice.
I haven't spoken, have I? I've asked questions.
You've asked questions, yes. Councillor David.
Thank you. I'll just add briefly. I take on board all the feedback we've been given. I think in terms of corporations legislation, every other sort of business legislation, and East Waste is, let's face it, a big business, I am dismayed that they do not have a copy of the Register of Interests for all of the, when you look at all of the councils and the people that they cover and the money and the investments that are made in that corporation, that they do not, have not, with a sophisticated management, which I thought they had, they do not publish a Register of Interest. I am dismayed, and I hope that this would be raised pronto so that we don't have to move a motion on council to actually affect this. I do not believe that our constituents or anyone interested should be asked to pay $25 to, I mean, why would you want a copy of the Register of Interest unless you're a lawyer or whatever? You just print it off if it's on your website. So it's just a moot, ridiculous and very unsophisticated representation of business and how it's done at East Waste, and it dismays me a bit.
Councillor Jones, do you wish to support them?
Yes. Thank you, Acting Presiding Member. Look, to create a PDF of a document involves standing up, going to the printer, running through the printer, scan to email, then you've got it forever. Okay, you've done that, takes like all of 2 minutes. I had to post a letter the other day because my super fund is living in the dark ages. That cost me $1.70 for a stamp. An envelope is about 5 cents. So at most, I could justify $2 for East Waste, but really they need to get into the 20th century, let alone the 21st century, and put this on their website in the interest of transparency. And it seems like the way we're going to force them to do this is by refusing their ridiculous request to charge people $25 to do something that costs $2 if you don't even just email it. So look, it's no wonder that they can't pick up 100,000 bins a year when they can't even put something on their website. So please support the motion.
All those in favour of this particular motion? Councillor, what's your name?
All those against.
All those against?
It's lost.
It's lost, but
Well, the
a division has been called. Will all those approving of this motion stand, please? Councillor Turnbull, Councillor Jones, Councillor Davey and Councillor Harvey. Thank you. Therefore, against are Councillor Dawes, Councillor Jennings, Councillor Hallett, Councillor Cornish and Councillor Henschke. Thank you. Motion is lost. Who is moving the original? Councillor Dawes, you're free to speak.
I will move the original recommendation, thank you, but I do not want to speak.
Seconder?
I'll second and I'll reserve my right.
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Cornish. Yes.
Councillor Dawes.
Back to you, Councillor Dawes. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is Councillor...
Those against.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors.
Still got
Oh, you need to declare first?
Through the Mayor, I'm declaring a conflict of interest because this item pertains to me, so I shall take your leave.
And I seek a move to move into confidence, which means that the gallery needs to be cleared. Councillor Jennings, you're moving?
No.
Councillor Hallett, seconding. All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried.